In the depths of space, where science and spirituality meet, an enthralling story unfolds about the birth and evolution of the universe. Surprisingly, modern scientific theories and ancient Buddhist teachings, seemingly so different, actually speak to the same thing without contradiction. Even for those who hold agnostic or materialistic views, familiarizing oneself with these concepts can be a valuable experience, broadening horizons and fostering a better understanding of the world and the people around us. By possessing knowledge from different fields, we can find common ground with others, overcome barriers of misunderstanding, and build bridges of mutual understanding. Buddhism describes cosmic cycles during which the universe goes through periods of contraction and expansion, repeated over unimaginably long periods of time. These processes, described by the Buddha as contraction and expansion, resonate with modern scientific concepts. Modern science confirms the expansion of the universe, observed thanks to Hubble's law. The Big Bang theory describes the birth of the universe from a super-dense and super-hot state, and this event can be considered the beginning of the last cycle of expansion. According to modern estimates, the universe we observe today arose about 14 billion years ago from a singularity, and has since continued to expand and cool, forming the cosmic landscape we see. Modern science does not yet have a precise answer to the question of what preceded the Big Bang, remaining within the bounds of hypotheses and theories. In contrast, Buddhist cosmology offers the concept of a cyclical universe. According to this teaching, before the emergence of our universe, there was another reality, which, having reached the peak of its expansion, began to contract, ultimately collapsing, to give rise to a new cycle of existence. The question of the purpose of this system and its creator in Buddhism falls into the category of questions devoid of practical meaning. Attempts to find answers to such questions are considered not only fruitless, but also potentially dangerous to mental health. As the Buddha stated, the human mind in its current state is not capable of comprehending and verifying the truth of answers to such fundamental questions. Immersing oneself in such reflections can lead to madness or deep disappointment. A more detailed discussion of the futility of such inquiries will be presented in a separate piece. The idea of the existence of a previous universe is in harmony with the law of conservation of energy, which is one of the cornerstones of modern physics. Similar processes of rebirth and transformation can be observed everywhere in the world around us. An example is the life cycle of massive stars, which, having exhausted their resources, explode as supernovas, scattering matter into space, to then become the building material for new stars and planets. Similar processes also occur in nature. This can be seen as a material analogy to reincarnation, where energy and matter pass from one form to another, continuing their continuous cycle. It is likely that over time, scientists studying space will be able to find evidence of the existence of the universe before the Big Bang, although this seems an extremely difficult task. The reason for this is the colossal compression of all things to incredible density that preceded the subsequent expansion. As the eminent physicist Stephen Hawking noted, the results of scientific observations support the hypothesis that the universe arose at a specific point in time. However, the singularity itself, the moment of the beginning of creation, is beyond the understanding of the physical laws we know. It is noteworthy that in ordinary consciousness, the idea often arises of the Big Bang as an event that occurred from some specific point from which the universe subsequently began to expand. In reality, the Big Bang occurred simultaneously and synchronously at all points in space. It is impossible to point to any specific point that is the center of the explosion. It is more correct to imagine it as the expansion of space itself, along with the matter contained within it. Furthermore, modern science describes the processes of the gradual formation of stars and planets, explaining how, as the temperature decreased, the formation of physical forces, elementary particles in their modern form, as well as the formation of stars, planets, and other cosmic objects occurred. As the Buddha said, there are countless spheres and worlds. Modern scientists, relying on the grandiose scale of the observed universe, hypothesize about the possibility of the existence of life beyond Earth. From a mathematical point of view, the probability of this seems quite real. and there are special equations that allow us to estimate this probability. Astronomers, for their part, offer clear explanations as to why humanity has not yet discovered signs of extraterrestrial life, and they analyze various scenarios for how things might unfold. In Buddhist philosophy, the idea of other inhabited worlds is reflected. Buddha spoke of the existence of many suns, moons, and continents. Therefore, if humanity ever encounters extraterrestrial life, Buddhists will see it as a perfectly natural and logical event, not contradicting their worldview. The Earth has undergone a long process of formation, life originated on it, and evolution has taken place from the simplest organisms to complex forms, including modern Homo sapiens. Anthropologists argue that under slightly different circumstances, intelligent life could have arisen from another species of primate. The current course of events is the result of a unique combination of conditions, causes, effects, and environment. Buddhism fully agrees with the theory of evolution and the scientific description of these processes, recognizing the interconnectedness and variability of all things. For followers of Buddhism, there are no contradictions between their religious beliefs and the theory of evolution, which makes it possible to teach Buddhist children this scientific concept. Moreover, the theory of evolution can serve as further confirmation of the fundamental principles of Buddhism, deepening the understanding of the world and humanity's place in it. Firstly, the Buddhist principle of conditionality states that all phenomena, including living organisms, are formed under the influence of the environment and specific conditions. Nothing arises from nowhere and exists outside the context of time and space. Evolution, with its emphasis on the adaptation of species to changing conditions, perfectly illustrates this principle. Secondly, the theory of evolution finds parallels with the Buddhist concept of karma, the cause and effect relationship that permeates all things. The formation and existence of living beings is due to a complex web of causes and effects, where every action and change generates new consequences. The evolutionary process, with its mechanisms of natural selection and adaptation, is a vivid example of this interconnectedness. Thirdly, Buddhism emphasizes the interconnectedness of all things, asserting that all elements of the universe, including living organisms, are formed from common components and exist in constant interaction and balance. Evolution, demonstrating the common origin of species and their dependence on ecological systems, confirms this idea of universal interconnectedness. Fourthly, the Buddhist teaching on endless rotation and rebirth is reflected in the cyclical nature of evolutionary processes. Just as the universe goes through cycles of expansion and contraction, and stars are born and die, life on Earth is constantly transformed and reborn in new forms, continuing an endless evolutionary path. In Buddhist philosophy, the theory of evolution does not present a dilemma, but rather harmonizes with the fundamental principles of the teaching. The process of creation in Buddhism finds a surprising correspondence in the Big Bang theory and the concept of the expanding universe, which demonstrates the absence of contradictions with modern scientific data. It is sometimes surprising how discussions between scientists and creationists lead to a confrontation between scientific knowledge and religious dogmas. In this confrontation, scientific materialism, based on empirical data, contradicts religious views based on ancient texts and spiritual experience. At the same time, both sides, strangely enough, overlook Buddhism, one of the three largest world religions, as if forgetting to invite its representatives to the discussion. It is likely that the disputing parties are not sufficiently aware of the details of Buddhist teachings, are not familiar with the sutras, and do not have a clear understanding of its tenets. It is noteworthy that Buddhism, for 2,600 years, has described the processes of creation in accordance with modern science. However, it seems that this fact remains unknown to both sides. If a forum were organized where representatives of science and religion could discuss these issues with the participation of competent Buddhists, then perhaps the conflict would be resolved. Scientists and Buddhist philosophers would come to an agreement, discussing these topics in harmony with each other. Such meetings and discussions have already become a reality. Many are taking the initiative to organize dialogues with representatives of the scientific world, and scientists, in turn, are showing an ever-increasing interest when new facets of Buddhism are revealed to them. These events are proving to be very fruitful and exciting. In the course of such meetings, there is not so much polemic as a harmonious and respectful collaboration in the field of research. To the surprise of the scientists themselves, they discover that there is an ancient world religion that not only does not contradict modern scientific discoveries, but also finds confirmation of its principles in them, and vice versa. There is no room for conflict or discrepancy here, nor has there ever been.